On November 11, astronomers uncovered a new wave of disturbing revelations as 3I Atlas continued its plunge toward the Sun. For several days in a row, observatories recorded what appeared to be a series of relentless collisions between 3I Atlas and streams of solar activity. Rumors of violent interactions spread rapidly across the scientific community, yet none of these encounters brought destruction. Instead, each one unraveled a deeper secret. Laws once believed untouchable began to wobble, and in the thin boundaries separating the possible from the impossible, something extraordinary began to emerge. A question took shape, unsettling, unavoidable. Had nature just revealed a new physical principle, or were we witnessing the trace of something constructed? From Avi Loeb's cautious speculations, to NASA's extended silence, to the delayed release of Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images, to questions raised in the U.S. Congress demanding transparency, the story of 3I Atlas has repeatedly pushed the limits of what we believe matter can do. In theory, it has become a mirror, reflecting how humanity confronts mystery, clings to certainty, and trembles at the unknown. And now, we turn to the latest official findings, to the discoveries made in just the past few days, as the interstellar wanderer 3I Atlas continues its dramatic, impossible dance with the Sun. Stay with us, because what happens next will shatter expectations. If the mysteries surrounding 3I Atlas fascinate you, tap that like button and let the universe know you're watching. Every click sends a signal that the search for the unknown must continue. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I want to see how many corners of Earth are witnessing this moment together. Once, 3I Atlas was nothing more than a grain of light, a tiny, anonymous object drifting quietly around the Sun. But then, as if waking from a billion-year sleep, everything changed. 3 days ago, just after passing perihelion, telescopes caught an astonishing transformation. The brightness of 3I Atlas surged fivefold. Its optical structure broke every familiar comet model, and a single narrow tail appeared, not spread out by solar winds, but projecting outward as if defying the pressure of sunlight itself. From the core, strange beams of light radiated in multiple directions, forming a geometry so precise that classical physical models simply failed. Most shocking of all, one beam pointed back toward the Sun, a behavior that contradicts the most basic forces in nature. By physics alone, solar radiation should blow dust outward, yet 3I Atlas released jets that seemed to push against the solar wind. At first, scientists assumed faulty instruments, but data from Chile, Hawaii, Spain, and India all showed the same thing: steady, rhythmic, almost programmed jets. Spectroscopy revealed the gas was escaping at only 150 meters per second, far too slow to stand firm in the solar wind. Yet the jets held their shape like invisible pillars locked to the nucleus. If this were heating, the sublimation would be chaotic. Instead, 3I Atlas kept a perfect 9-hour rhythm, like a dark stone inhaling and exhaling in the cold of space. The usual theories failed instantly. Gas leaking through cracks could not maintain structure. Random venting could not produce symmetry, and the slow rotation of 3I Atlas ruled out drift. When nature failed to explain it, speculation surged. Perhaps the gases were being funneled through narrow interior channels, something like a system of natural valves controlling the release. If true, 3I Atlas would be showing behavior never documented in any natural object, self-regulating its own motion through controlled emissions. At first, this seemed absurd, but the observational data matched it disturbingly well. Simulations run at the European Southern Observatory only deepened the puzzle. Random outflow models collapsed instantly, while oriented outflow models recreated the jets perfectly. Their report mentioned unusual red columns, signs of localized vents or directional channels. No one dared to use the word designed, but the symmetry made it difficult to dismiss the possibility that something more than probability was at play. If nature shaped 3I Atlas, then it represents a physical form we have never seen. If not, then perhaps we are witnessing the reawakening of an ancient system activated near the Sun. The change happens so abruptly, like a switch flipping inside. From that moment on, 3I Atlas stopped behaving like a comet and started behaving like an experiment, a place where the familiar patterns of matter begin bending as if under an invisible hand. Some scientists said it looked like the object was remembering what to do. Others proposed it was responding to an ancient stimulus, sunlight, heat, or some encoded trigger imprinted millions of years before the solar system formed. Whatever the cause, the transformation of 3I Atlas proved one thing: the universe hides more than it reveals. After its third perihelion, 3I Atlas went silent. No jets, no optical flares, just a faint metallic glow. Then, on October 24th, South Africa's Meerkat radio telescope picked up something unexpected: two clean emission lines at 165 GHz and 667 GHz. The unmistakable spectral fingerprint of hydroxyl, the daughter product of water vapor. It was the first whisper after weeks of silence. Hydroxyl signals are common in comet studies, but the timing made no sense. 3I Atlas should have been cooling down, shedding activity, fading away. Instead, it triggered a perfect hydroxyl emission as it turned away from the sun, as if waiting for an exact geometric angle. Cracked ice was considered, but the spectrum was far too clean to be random. Professor Eliob described the event as methodical leakage, as if gas were being released through a finely tuned valve. Models from the Max Planck Institute proposed that a nickel carbon shell might be trapping heat internally, creating delayed outgassing. But even that failed to explain the 36-hour stability, a signature of a system that seemed to know how much to release. Some researchers call it autoregulation, and biological-like rhythm preserved in ice. Others whisper the uncomfortable question: is the precision too precise to be natural? Maybe it's reacting to a specific radiation band. Maybe it's a chemical resonance. Or maybe, though no one wants to say it out loud, an ancient circuit waiting for a cue. It sounds like conspiracy theory, but the math is slowly eliminating randomness. In early November, ALMA confirmed the pulse, again, a single, fleeting burst that lingered for 2 days before slipping back into silence. The NASA summary reduced it to a transient, non-recurring hydroxyl absorption event, but the astronomers who witnessed it couldn't shake the unease that followed. If it was natural, it behaved far too cleanly. If it was artificial, it hid its intent with eerie restraint. What had turned a motionless relic into a whispering wanderer? A fracture? A resonance? A memory buried deeper than time itself? No one could say. 3I Atlas had moved far from us now, its faint murmurs dissolving into cosmic static. But those two delicate absorption lines remained, precise, deliberate, and unforgettable. A reminder that silence is sometimes the most articulate message the universe knows how to send. By early November, the predicted orbit of 3I Atlas had begun to veer from its original trajectory. The deviations were small at first, fractions of an arcsecond, then stretched to nearly 4. Enough to confirm that the object was no longer obeying pure gravitational motion. No impacts, no solar weather, no measurable outgassing. And yet, 3I Atlas drifted forward with a steady, persistent anti-gravitational acceleration, as though being steered by an invisible will. When ALMA's measurements were compared with Pan-STARRS, the truth solidified. A negative acceleration of roughly 2 × 10⁻⁷ meters per second squared, extending over millions of kilometers. Not fluctuating with spin, not wobbling with solar pressure. Fixed, calm, unwavering in the plane of its orbit. As if 3I Atlas knew where it was going. Attempts to patch the orbital model only worsened the discrepancy. Scientists were left with two uncomfortable possibilities. Either 3I Atlas possessed some elaborate concealed emission system buried deep beneath its shell, or it was being driven by a mechanism that didn't belong to familiar physics at all. The steady 9-hour rhythm only strained the natural explanation further, echoing the mystery of 2017's Oumuamua, another traveler plagued by inexplicable acceleration and hints of hidden structure.
Some researchers proposed that 3I Atlas carried a kind of physical memory, an imprint formed in a powerful magnetic cradle during its birth, now reawakening in sunlight. But in mid-November, the acceleration abruptly ceased. 3I Atlas snapped into a new orbital path, dimmed, and slipped into darkness. When it resurfaced, the puzzle deepened. Instead of fading, 3I Atlas was emitting 5 stable gas streams in 5 distinct directions, including one aimed directly toward the sun, a flagrant violation of radiation physics. Spectral readings proved it wasn't a glitch. There was no natural mechanism capable of shaping a column of gas to withstand solar pressure for days at a time. And then, almost without warning, its exterior shifted from a dull red to a metallic blue over just a few days. The faint gaseous lines were too weak to explain the shift. The glow aligned instead with nickel-rich silicates, materials linked more to planetary interiors than to icy celestial bodies. This raised a startling possibility. 3I Atlas might not be a primordial ice-bound wanderer at all, but a fragment torn from something far older and far stranger. Then the data slowed. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter images arrived 3 weeks late, compressed, cropped, and missing entire sequences. NASA chalked it up to calibration. Experts whispered about uniform flashes and sharply edged surface patterns. Multiple scientific bodies requested transparency. The replies never came. Outside the labs, speculation ignited. Ancient probes, eroded relics, remnants of a structure that once served a purpose now buried beneath cosmic dust. But beneath the theories, 3I Atlas drifted beyond physics and into belief. Maybe nothing was hidden, or perhaps the truth lay in the one thing no model could quantify: our inability to recognize a message when it is not meant for us. And through all the vanished frames and muted answers, the metallic blue shimmer of 3I Atlas remained, a quiet monument to the idea that the universe speaks loudest when it says nothing at all. Just as the controversy over missing data began to fade, a new revelation emerged from the spectrum itself. The isotope ratios of oxygen and carbon within 3I Atlas did not match any object native to our solar system. ALMA verified the anomaly, confirming that it originated from a star system at least 7 billion years old, older than Earth, the Sun, and most planets that now observe its passing. That single fact overturned everything. 3I Atlas was no mere visitor. It was a relic from a long-dead star, carrying in its atoms the memory of an era predating our corner of the cosmos. Yet the object wasn't eroded like an ancient stone. It was preserved, almost impossibly intact, as though once shielded or maintained by forces now lost. Reconstructed surface models revealed more. Nickel and iron concentrations were far higher than in typical comet nuclei. Nickel, in particular, is a resilient metal found in engineered alloys, turbines, spacecraft, structural composites, not in fragile, icy wanderers. Some theorists suggested that 3I Atlas could be the metallic core of a planet shattered in the violent infancy of its parent system. That might explain its endurance, like a shard of a world's heart. But even that didn't explain its balanced elemental ratios, its stable magnetic behavior, or its uncanny heat retention. Traits that resembled manufactured materials more than natural cosmic debris. Though no institution would dare to state it officially, more daring voices proposed that 3I Atlas might be the remnants of a forgotten civilization. Not a complete vessel, but the decayed bones of a structure that once served a purpose. Its reflectivity closely matched nickel compounds used on Earth. Its magnetic response felt strangely organic. Perhaps those traits were simply the outcome of an alien environment. Or perhaps they were the ghosts of a design so ancient that time had carved it into geology. The data didn't prove the theory. It simply refused to disprove it. And then came the most curious coincidence of all. Tracing its path backward, the orbit of 3I Atlas intersected the region of sky near the origin of the legendary 1977 WOW signal. The angular separation was roughly 9 degrees, not perfect, but close enough to send a shiver through every researcher reading the report. The WOW signal was a mysterious 72-second radio burst at 1,420 megahertz, the frequency of neutral hydrogen, the universe's most abundant element and long considered a potential beacon for any hypothetical transmission. Half a century later, 3I Atlas was releasing post-perihelion bursts at 1.65 and 1.667 gigahertz, frequencies aligned with the hydroxyl family, the two spectral ends of the water molecule. A coincidence, perhaps, but coincidences of this scale have always unsettled scientists. Dr. Avi B. calculated the odds of two events, separated by 50 years, matching in both frequency and region of sky: the 1977 WOW detection and the 3I Atlas emission. His estimate? 1 in 10,000. Not impossible, but low enough to force the scientific world to look twice. Both signals were brief. Both never recurred. Both appeared at frequencies tied to the basic chemistry of life. When the Harvard-Smithsonian team reprocessed the WOW data with modern algorithms, they uncovered faint sidebands overlapping with hydroxyl. That detail made the connection even harder to ignore. Skeptics argued that hydrogen frequencies are common in the Milky Way, but the overlap, the timing, the behavior, the alignment made it difficult to dismiss the correlation entirely. Some compromise theories suggested that WOW and 3I Atlas might be the byproducts of natural hydrogen resonances in interstellar clouds, accidentally amplifying a narrow region of space. In such a case, 3I Atlas would not be a transmitter, but an artifact carrying the chemical imprints of whatever once produced the resonance. But there was a broader possibility, almost poetic in its implications. If WOW was a solitary cry, then 3I Atlas might be the physical remnant of the place it originated. One researcher wrote, "Perhaps 3I Atlas is not a messenger at all, but a fossil, a surviving fragment of a gesture long outlived by the hand that created it." A humbling thought. In a universe where stars and planets fade without memory, a drifting shard of ancient matter might still carry the echo of an alien song. As 3I Atlas departed the orbit of Mars, sinking into a darkness where sunlight became little more than a whisper, it carried no answers. But from a faint coincidence, a delicate pattern began to form. Its inbound trajectory aligned with the same quadrant where the WOW signal once flared. Not perfect, but close enough to trouble even the skeptics. Perhaps WOW and 3I Atlas are unrelated. Or perhaps, across billions of years and light years, they are two fragments of the same forgotten story. One written in radio waves, the other carved into metal and motion. As always, the universe refuses to answer. It speaks only in hints, just enough for us to wonder whether we're hearing a message or simply detecting the echo of the unknown. As 3I Atlas drifted outward beyond Mars, its legend spread from Cambridge to Tokyo, and a chilling realization took root. Whatever 3I Atlas was, it didn't match a comet. It didn't match an asteroid. It didn't match any known category of celestial fragment. It was an exception, a reminder that the universe is built not from rules, but from the rare deviations that rewrite those rules. In the tidy certainty of equations, we like to believe we know how matter behaves, how light scatters, how gravity persuades. Yet 3I Atlas emerged from the void and simply refused to behave, without pattern, without apology, a motion without thrust, a structure without a tail, a signal without recurrence, a color without a chemical match, a symmetry without a precedent, a deliberate anomaly. Each puzzle might have a natural explanation buried somewhere in probability. Or perhaps our human bias simply strains to impose order on a chaos more ancient than our species. But until we admit what we do not yet know, discovery remains incomplete. The bizarre trajectory of 3I Atlas forced astronomers into an uncomfortable paradox. Skepticism and imagination are not enemies. They are partners, two halves of a single compass guiding us through uncertainty. to observe the strange without calling it miraculous, to speculate without abandoning reason. This is the true spirit of science. We may calculate orbits to the millisecond, but progress demands humility, especially when the cosmos gently corrects the things we thought were certain. When asked what 3I Atlas represented, Avi's answer was disarmingly simple. Either this is a completely new kind of natural object, or we've just witnessed the remains of something that was created. In either case, the universe is asking us to widen the frame of our understanding. If 3I Atlas is natural, then nature has evolved a way to mimic intention. If not, then intention has existed long enough to blend seamlessly into nature. In both directions, the line between randomness and purpose dissolves. History reminds us that scientific revolutions are born not from certainty, but confusion. Heliocentrism emerged from heresy, quantum physics from contradictions, relativity from the stubborn orbit of Mercury. Perhaps 3I Atlas is such an anomaly, a silent messenger from an unwritten chapter of physics. Its lesson is not to believe in aliens or miracles, but to believe in the unknown, to treat each anomaly as an invitation rather than a threat, to let data speak before dogma fills the void. Because if the next interstellar visitor arrives and we cling too tightly to our models, we might miss the message we've waited centuries to hear. Transparency, open data, interdisciplinary dialogue, these are not luxuries. They are survival tools in a universe that rarely bows to human expectations. When information is withheld, whether by caution or bureaucracy, speculation rushes to fill the vacuum. And once myth takes root, it is not easily undone. Perhaps that is the true legacy of 3I Atlas, not in what it is, but in the mirror it holds up to us, a reflection of our need for control, our fear of error, our fragile balance between evidence and wonder. An ending that declares nothing, yet leaves a breathless pause, forcing us to ask, is the next cosmic anomaly waiting just beyond darkness, or are we only now learning how to listen?